Anthony Wilroth, and welcome to Eyes on Como, where we put a spotlight on Columbia and Boone County, Missouri local government. Today, I'm going to be breaking down a clip from yesterday's City Council meeting. At the end of every City Council meeting, there's a handful of reports that city staff and city boards and commissions give to City Council. And last night, one of those reports was from Jay McIntosh, chair of the Visions Committee. He was there to present a matrix that they had come up with to City Council. So here is the clip of Jay McIntosh of the Visions Committee presenting this matrix to City Council.
Columbia Vision Commission correspondence. Do we have a staff report?
Mayor, members of the council, this report is being submitted to you from staff on behalf of the Vision Commission. The purpose of the report is to provide you with the revisioning or purpose and role of the Columbia Vision Commission moving forward. And Jay McIntosh, newly elected chair of the Vision Commission, is here tonight to discuss the contents of their report.
Good evening. Dalton comes and helps the magic happen.
Good evening. I'm Jay McIntosh, and I'm here as the new chair of the Vision Commission. I spent most of my career at Ernst & Young, where I was responsible for developing and implementing the firm's strategy in the retail area. After I retired from EY, I co-developed and taught a course on long-term planning at Notre Dame. I volunteered to serve on this commission because I want to use my experience to benefit the area. We just moved here a little over a year ago, but we love Columbia. My daughter's lived here for a long time, so we're very familiar with the area.
All right, so I'm going to pause it right there. This is the first thing I want to point out is that Jay is exactly the type of person that we need to have on our boards and commissions, and especially chairing them. He's very accomplished in his career, and he has a strong tie to the community with his daughter having lived here. He could very well just be retired with his time or something, but instead he is willing to put in his time and effort and apply his expertise to helping our city council, and that's a really cool thing. So we need to see more like Jay.
At the November meeting, the Vision Commission was tasked with revisioning the purpose of the Commission. As you saw in our report, we propose that the revised purpose of the Vision Commission is to promote alignment between the strategic plan and the goals and objectives of the stakeholders in order to foster transparency and accountability.
So Jay has been tasked with coming up with a new mission statement for the Visions Committee. Let's start by looking at what was said about the Visions Committee when it was formed. Essentially, their purpose was to work in community engagement and informing the community about the city's strategic plan. And so what Jay has proposed here is something that is spiritually similar to the original ordinance that established this committee, but is much more effective in that rather than just a vague community outreach, he's saying let's specifically identify how the city's decisions are aligning or maybe not aligning with the strategic plan, and then we can communicate to the public exactly why the things we're doing line up with the things we're supposed to be doing. Good stuff. I like it.
How would we do that? Well, let's look at the ARPA funds and how we could contribute to the allocation. That would be our first order of business because of the time sensitivity. We would work with stakeholders to align ARPA spending with strategic plan focus areas. We would start by providing insight as to how each grant request impacts the strategic plan using the matrix that we've handed out. In case you're not familiar with the decision matrix, it is a way to compare competing proposals using common criteria. The one we are looking at is a simple summary for illustration purposes. When scoring the grants, we would look behind each of the objectives at the measurements that are included in the strategic plan. For example, under reliable infrastructure, there are 3 goals. Maintain and expand Columbia's infrastructure. Improve Columbia's infrastructure to equitably expand where infrastructure is lacking. And prepare Columbia's natural and built environments for the impacts of climate change. We would use the targets under each of these goals to score the grants. Also, we would include a brief explanation for each of the rankings. We understand that some are concerned that we are too late in the process to take this approach, but we should be able to work on a parallel path so that we would not delay decisions. The purpose of this is not to suggest that grants should be ranked in order of impact on strategic plans. Rather, it is to provide data to the stakeholders so that they can make an informed decision.
So this right here is really important for later in the video when Mayor Barbara Buffalo responds to Jay McIntosh. This is the first of many times that he points out that his intention here is not for the strategic vision to drive every single part of the ARPA spending process, but rather this is a tool to analyze how a specific ARPA grant may or may not align with the strategic vision. That's all he's saying here, is he's providing a tool. He brings that up now, and he's going to bring that up again later.
We would treat as a commission each of the objectives equally. However, stakeholders could easily use the data and multiply the objectives that they value more and discount the objectives they value less. Thank you. Any questions?
Thank you, Jay. So remind me, how long have you been on the Vision Commission?
Actually, that was my second meeting when we were
Okay.
asked to revision, asked to repurpose. So since October.
Okay.
All right, so this here is important to note as well. Jay has been on this board since October. It's been 4 months, and this that he's presenting to the council tonight is what he's been working on for the entirety of that 4 months.
Okay. I asked because I think, I know there had been some strategic plan kind of review when they were looking at the ARPA things. Obviously, that is a concern since we're supposed to have our appropriations due sort of by the end of this coming year.
Right.
So I think one of my questions for the Vision Commission is also, I want to make sure that that we're utilizing your all's time really well. And so I appreciate you putting together like a proposal for how we could think about it. I think for me personally, I need to think, besides also out of ARPA, is what else are we doing for this? Because your community engagement, which I think you were helping put together a kind of citizen report on feedback from the strategic plan.
We did a questionnaire.
Okay, right. Yeah.
But it was far too long and complicated. And part of the problem is the questionnaire was focused on asking people about their strategic plan. But that's like asking people if they like to eat out. I mean, what we need to do is say, here's what the city has done in the strategic plan. How do you feel about that?
So here Jay points something out that is not only a problem with the way that his particular commission has engaged with the community in the past, but is just a problem with the city's community engagement in general. And it's something that many citizens speak up about every chance that they get. And that's that a lot of the city's communication with us doesn't feel very authentic. They give us a whole bunch of surveys and things like that, but it never tends to go anywhere, and it never seems to be a useful tool. So Jay here is trying to delineate the difference between that survey and his matrix that he's provided here, which is an actual useful tool that provides a sort of data almost, that a retroactive trail that you can go back and say, this is how we made our decisions. Totally different thing, actual useful tool. We need more useful tools. Awesome. Good stuff, Jay, again. Thank you.
And that's the approach we want to take. I mean, listening to some of the comments tonight, it's pretty obvious that looking at some of the commissions and seeing if their objectives are aligned with the strategic plan would be a very strong effort. And that was our original thought when we did this in November. But then we said we should start with ARPA because of the time sensitivity. But if you just think of any of the other commissions or the Finance and Audit Committee, for example, what do they do in terms of interaction with the strategic plan? So I think that that's where we can add value. And then once you have that, and once you've actually done something, that's when we can do a questionnaire.
Yeah. Jay, I almost want to suggest that we have like another conversation about this and actually think about the Vision Commission as almost like having be like a task force for this intent of working. We've been talking about working with our boards and commissions. And in fact, you have a few members on the Vision Commission that this is their specialty with MU Extension, is helping on boards and commissions processes. So maybe rather than focusing on the ARPA review is more of helping us on a plan for effectiveness for boards and commissions in helping us flesh out what this training is, because we've been kind of stumbling on what to do next.
So here is the first point that I start to get the impression that maybe what Jay has presented isn't exactly what Mayor Buffalo had in mind when she asked him to reimagine the Visions Commission. And she also begins to double down on the idea that the Visions Commission is not going to be applying this matrix to ARPA funds.
I would say that, but I would also, as a citizen, say that if you're not doing something to align the ARPA funds to the strategic plan, that's a disservice to the community. Whether you do this or, and it doesn't have to be 100%. You know, anything you get. I mean, if I were sitting in your shoes, I would love to have that matrix that just tells me objectively, what does this mean to the strategic plan? Because in many cases, you can go back to the person and say, look, you need to tweak this. You need to make it more responsive to what we're trying to accomplish. So.
Yeah, so ARPA is a little bit limited because we probably can't spend everything in our strategic plan with ARPA
Right.
funds. I wish, but
So remember earlier when I was pointing out that Jay specifically mentioned that he's not insinuating that this matrix is meant to drive 100% of the ARPA funds to things mentioned in the strategic plan? Well, apparently Mayor Buffalo didn't catch that when he said it.
Right.
That
No,
is
I
a good thought.
understand.
Yeah.
But I'm just saying that would be good to know.
yeah, no, I appreciate that.
Any other questions?
I think there's anyone think it's crazy, my idea of maybe asking them to help partner us on thinking about boards and commissions just overall? Not making changes yet to what the Vision Commission and your piece in here, but just kind of that conversation. I loved it. I apologize, I have not gotten to have a conversation with you. It's been a kind of crazy couple weeks.
But we all
Here, she apologizes for not having had a chance to meet with Jay, presumably since she had asked him to work on this. Remember though, he's been on this commission since October. It is now February, and this is what he's been working on the entire time. So that's 4 months, not a couple of weeks. I understand that the mayor is busy, but we don't have all that many boards and commissions. I think that especially when you have a new chair on a board or a commission, that you should be able to have a meeting with them within 4 months to make sure that what they're working on in that time is what you want them to be working on. Or at least if it's not, give what they have worked on the time of day and some actual thought, please.
also need your help because we only have 5 members now, and the appointments haven't been listed, you know, so
Okay, thank you.
we need that.
Yeah.
This here is a perfect example of the dysfunction that people talk about when they say that Columbia city government is dysfunctional. There's only 5 people sitting on this commission. I don't know how many people are supposed to be there, but there's supposed to be more. And these positions haven't been listed. Don't you think that Jay McIntosh might have loved some extra input from a full commission worth of members when he was working on this plan? I think that he would have, and I think that listing the openings for boards and commissions in a timely manner is one of the least things that people could ask of their city government.
You had a question?
I want to thank you for, I have talked to you a couple of times, and I want to thank you for the matrix and also for your enthusiasm towards jumping right in, recognizing the time sensitivity of the ARPA process, as well as the work that you can do with our boards and commissions. And I think it can be an and whether or not we want to have and schedule a different meeting. You know, I know council's time is always constrained and there doesn't seem to be enough work session time, but time is of the essence here, and we have an enthusiastic group of people that very much want to work. We should let them find their way.
I really agree with First Ward Councilwoman Pat Fowler right here on a number of fronts. First of all, that this can definitely be an and thing, that the Visions Commission can work on other boards and commissions and aligning them with their strategic vision like Mayor Buffalo wants them to, and work on applying their matrix to the decision making for the ARPA fund dispersals. This isn't a crazy thing. It's just using a tool to make a decision that we're already making. You can go through all the same steps that you already plan on making for these ARPA funds and apply the matrix to it. It's not hard. It's not disruptive. To be honest, the whole time crunch doesn't make sense to me. Also, earlier in this same meeting, I had gone up and given public comments about how in difficult times we often need creative solutions, and Pat here is pointing out that this is a really creative solution, this matrix that they have brought up. So I agree with Pat there. Creative solution is the type of creative solution that I was talking about when I gave those comments, and that we should let enthusiastic people on the commissions find their way. That's how you keep people from getting discouraged on these boards and commissions. If they have some enthusiasm, let them take that enthusiasm to its logical end and see where it goes. I think that you'll end up with some really good results that way. When you shut down conversations before you even have a chance to have them, people aren't going to want to put that same effort into the boards and commissions moving forward. This has been a conversation dominated by Barbara Buffalo. The point of these reports is a chance for the boards and commissions to go up and advise the entire council. And from the moment that Jay McIntosh got done speaking, Barbara is arguing with him about the fact that he's not going to get to use this matrix for ARPA. And the whole thing is unprofessional and a little disrespectful in my eyes. I don't love it.
Yes, but I'm questioning on the ARPA process as far as for what this looks like in being engaged, but just receiving this, wanting to think on that one.
May we revisit this then at the next council meeting?
Yes, but if we can set up a time to get together, Jay, I'll probably reach out to you. I assume I have
Can
your
we do it
email
by
address. That would be great.
Because I want to be gone for a couple of weeks. So.
Oh, go on.
But, yeah,
Escape.
I'm going to Chicago. It's not really any warmer
Oh,
there.
oh, yeah, never mind. I win. No. Okay,
thank you.
yeah, so we'll continue this conversation. Thank you, Jay. Appreciate it.
Is this being continued for right now, or just?
Let's have this conversation. You want to just continue it for the next council meeting. Do we want to then, I feel like I want to have more. I want to have more thoughts. So it might be the next one, just so I can put more of what I'm thinking besides also just boards and commissions.
So this here to me is Mayor Buffalo at this point, tripling down, quadrupling down on the fact that this is not going to be about ARPA. She's already established that her reasoning for that is that it's a time-sensitive issue, and now she doesn't want to bring this back until not one, but 2 city council meetings from now at a minimum, which puts this a month out. And again, if her line of logic here is that it's too time-sensitive to apply this to ARPA, again, which the ARPA funds don't need to be committed until the end of the year, and we're only talking about putting a tool into the same decision-making process that we're already doing, then waiting a month to even talk about this again means that it's a non-starter. If you feel that you're crunched for time and you're actually entertaining the idea in the least, you're going to try and move faster than that.
I guess we could do motions on that one. You want to do a motion to just continue it to the next meeting, Pat?
No, I want us to find whatever route. First, I understand you're wanting to have a conversation and with Jay and also with other members of the Vision Commission. We have still 5. Some of them are in continuing status until such time as we appoint again. But I think they've come forward with a really creative approach to trying to align the strategic plan to everything we do so that we all understand better what the strategic plan says and why it's important. And I think we have a group that's focused on that and that we want to enable that work.
Yeah, and I think it's also part of a broader discussion because, right, so the strategic plan, ideally when I read a lot of those things, I was like, that's what the city manager's office is supposed to do. Like, y'all are supposed to think about alignment of our boards and commissions, alignment of the things we do on projects for the strategic plan. So I guess my question is like how to do that measurement for ourselves, but then also not be useful to people's time. Vision Commission, the history of when it started, it's been revamped a few times. And so sometimes I'm kind of like, do we just undo and then create a new commission for what it is we see this new need is? And
this right here is the point where if I were Mr. McIntosh, I would go from mildly insulted to completely angry that I was even tasked with this and that I've spent my time on it. That would just be my personal feelings because at this point, I would have gone up there, given this report, and the response is now talking about blowing up this commission and restarting it from the ground up. That's not very respectful way to treat somebody who's, again, very professional, very accomplished person with some expertise that has brought a well-reasoned tool to you. And your response now at this point is to reevaluate the commission in its entirety. I would be very insulted.
I guess that's where I'm struggling. I'm probably not alone on that one.
I'm not struggling. I think we should seize upon their enthusiasm now.
Okay. Thank you. All right, moving on.
A little later in the meeting, I go up and give public comments about this whole situation. But first, I want to take this in a slightly different direction and go back and look at a clip from the Columbia Board of Realtors Candidates Forum that just happened a couple of weeks ago. One of the questions ended up being very prophetic if you look at this whole situation between Mr. McIntosh and Mayor Buffalo here. It's exactly what they were talking about, if you ask me. So again, this is from the Board of Realtors Candidates Forum. Watch this.
It's not here, so you can never back. All right. Let's go to Greg Bush. There's been some concern in the community regarding board and commission appointments over the past few years. How can the city attract more qualified people to boards and commissions?
Well, we're a community of helpers. Let's find those connections between people who help. We have a whole school of people who study the right ways to do things, right? And when you learn more, you do better. And boards and commissions, you are known by your fruits, right? So when we have a strong, robust local economy, we will continue to attract people to our community, and those helpers, those community members, will be elected, not elected, but appointed to serve. Make it an attractive offer. You get to be a part of the fourth largest city in the state of Missouri and make a better future for everyone. That's pretty attractive to me. So how can we attract them? I mean, sell the sizzle, right? We're Columbia.
Sometimes, and this may surprise people, but the board or commission will make a suggestion to council, and that means nothing. And council should, if they're actively recruiting, as they should be to these boards and commissions, take those the advice and the recommendations of those boards and commissions that they appointed and created more seriously.
So there we heard a question. How can Columbia attract more qualified candidates to its boards and commissions? And then we heard answers from two different candidates there. 5th Ward Council candidate Greg Bush and 1st Ward Council candidate Nick Knopf. So Greg, his argument was that we need to sell the sizzle, that Columbia, by a lot of metrics, is an exceptional community, and that in and of itself, it should be a rewarding thing to be able to be a part of that community, and that we should be able to attract talented people from other communities to move here because of those things and participate. And then Nick said that very frequently we do have talented people on our boards and commissions, but then they bring ideas to council and that council shoots them down. Both of them are absolutely correct there. Full disclosure, I have a favorite in the 1st Ward race, and it's not Nick. I'm sure that'll come up at other points in this channel as I critique various things that various people say. But when he's right, and he's absolutely right here. But it's also a double-edged sword. You need to back it up with what Greg is saying and bringing the most talented people that you can, so that you're making sure you're getting good ideas. You don't want a situation where the deck is being stacked and everybody that is being placed on the boards and commissions is unqualified or just there to do the bidding of the council, and then when council sees the things from the boards and commissions, they automatically take everything they say. That's not what you want either. So you want it to be legitimate. You want talented people in there, and then you want to actually listen to the talented people once they're there. And to me, like I said, this is prophetic. This is exactly what you see play out in this clip that we just watched from council. Every point was there. Mr. McIntosh is a very talented individual that was attracted to move to Columbia and bring his talents here because Columbia is an exceptional community. But then he brought his idea up there and he was immediately shot down. Like I said earlier in this video, that is probably discouraging, and that's what I think Nick Knopf was getting at. It's very interesting that we had that at that forum a couple of weeks ago, and then we see it play out in real time. So next, we're going to move on to the public comments that I gave at the end of council. At the end of every city council meeting, there's an opportunity for general public comments where people can stand up and talk about anything they want or anything that happened at council. So I went up and addressed this entire situation. So here's my public comments. I want to thank Mr. McIntosh for presenting that matrix to us. Seems like a very nice tool that you can apply to all manner of things. What a great concept, something that you can run any sort of decision through and feedback to anyone who wants to see it, how you arrived at the decision you got to. That would really cover your guys' backs against any number of things, as well as inform our citizens. I'm also confused as to how it's too late into the ARPA process to try and inject a tool like that into it, but it's not too late into the ARPA process to have a special commission appointed by the mayor. Furthermore, looking at boards and commissions and their roles to ARPA, both can be beneficial. Both are probably a good application for that matrix. But there is one of those things that you guys are in the news about in the community for not being transparent in the process. And it's not boards and commissions. We see you appoint those. We know how that process works. It's the ARPA funds. That's the one that's not being transparent process. And when somebody walks in the room and offers you a tool for how you can show the community how it was a transparent process, and you say that it's too late to inject that in, that just gives me the gut feeling that you guys aren't all that interested in filling in the community on how you arrived at those decisions. Okay, so a lot of my comments there are pretty self-explanatory and match what I've already gone over here in the video. But what was I talking about when I said that there's one of these things that you guys are in the news for not being transparent about, and it's not boards and commissions, it's ARPA? Well, let me read you a couple of excerpts from a Como Buzz article by Mike Murphy. Como Buzz, if you're unfamiliar with it, is an independent journalism outlet ran by Mike Murphy. Most of the time it's great. Occasionally there's some articles that I don't think are fully reasoned and researched, like one in particular that came out last week about city manager DeCarlin Seawood. But in general, great example of independent journalism focusing on local issues. You should read and subscribe to Como Buzz. So here is a few excerpts from a Como Buzz article about the ARPA process here in Columbia, Missouri. The City of Columbia is keeping secret the contents of multiple applications it has received from groups and individuals seeking a share of the $25.2 million the city was granted in Federal American Rescue Act, or ARPA, COVID relief funds. More than 30 entities have requested funds, totaling nearly $30 million, in a recently opened period for proposals. Those entities and the amount of their request is available at City Hall, but details of applications have been determined to be closed records by the city manager's office. This is an email from Pat Fowler to the Missouri League of Cities and the National Municipal League. Many of us want to read and understand the proposals and how those proposals might meet the needs of our community long neglected, including the needs to address trauma, community violence, mental health, gaps in the affordability of childcare and housing, gaps in training that denies access to better paying jobs, gaps in the service available and needed by our unsheltered neighbors, Fowler wrote. Fowler said both organizations responded that they knew of no other municipality that was following a closed records process, but that would be a local political decision. Not all citizens, however, are being prevented from reading the contents of the proposals. A committee of 8 community members appointed by Mayor Barbara Buffalo are assisting staff in vetting the proposals. Apparently, city staff plans to bring negotiated contracts to City Council for approval, at which time the contents of the proposals would be revealed. So we have Columbia as the only community that anybody is aware of treating this as a closed records process, as well as the fact that there is a commission handpicked by Mayor Barbara Buffalo of citizens that are allowed to see this. This commission, mind you, was only put together in the last month or so. It's not too late to put that commission together, but it's too late to apply a matrix to this decision-making process. I don't know. These are the things that you'll see if you keep your eyes on Como.